We begin tonight's CBS Evening News with breaking news. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted on charges of mishandling classified documents at his Florida estate. For the first time in American history, a former president is facing federal charges. Donald Trump posting on social media just tonight that he is expected to surrender to authorities in Miami on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mr. Trump calling this a dark day for America.
There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller...
CBS News has learned there are 7 counts. These charges are related to the retention of national defense information. Now, the indictment filed by the Office of the Special Counsel, Jack Smith, comes as there has been a wide-ranging investigation into the handling of top-secret documents and Mr. Trump's efforts to retain power after his 2020 election loss. And make no mistake, this creates an extraordinary situation as this places the U.S. Justice Department in charge of an investigation of not only the former president, but also the current Republican frontrunner for the 2024 presidential race. This is going to be messy politically. Donald Trump already holds the historic place of being the only president to be twice impeached, and now he's the first to be indicted on federal charges. CBS's Catherine Herridge joins us now. And Catherine, this is a big development tonight.
It is. Tonight, Norah, the Trump legal team was already on edge and on notice that charges were imminent when the former president broke the news on his social media platform.
Multiple sources confirmed to CBS News the former president has been indicted on criminal charges in the Mar-a-Lago documents case. The alleged violations include the unlawful retention of national defense information, as well as obstruction. More than 300 records, including 60 marked top secret, were recovered at his Mar-a-Lago home. Tom Dupree is a former senior Justice Department official.
The nation has never seen something like this. A major candidate for office, arguably the leading nominee of his party, indicted, criminally indicted, and defending himself from criminal charges.
Sources tell CBS News that Trump has been told to be in Miami Tuesday to be arraigned. In a statement, Trump said the indictment was politically motivated and election interference.
This has risk written all over it. Certainly just the decision to indict a former president. I mean, you got to be sure, right? You got to be right that you have a case where you can succeed and you can prove your claim beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest standard known in our justice system.
And tonight, the special counsel's office has declined to comment on the charges. Based on our reporting here at CBS News, many in official Washington, Norah, were taken by surprise by the president's decision to break the charges and the news himself.
All right, Catherine Herridge with that late-breaking news. And we have our brilliant team of reporters here with us, CBS senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe and chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa. And Robert, thank you. I know you guys have both been out on the campaign trail as well. Robert, how much legal jeopardy is the president facing?
Well, one sign that they know they're facing legal jeopardy is they're moving right now to expand the legal team. We hear that Todd Blanche, that white shoe lawyer who has worked on the New York case, is now going to play a central role in this ongoing federal indictment and the possible trial on the horizon. But they see this not only as a legal war, but a political one. They are not going to settle. They're not going to look for a deal based on our discussions tonight with sources close to Trump's legal team. They want to take this to trial.
You know, Ed, you cover the White House, and President Biden appointed Merrick Garland as the head of the Justice Department, and he has offstated that no person, including a former president, is above the law. But this is going to be difficult.
It is, and he faced a question about that earlier today in a news conference with the British Prime Minister when he was asked, how would you assuage the concerns of Americans who may feel that the Justice Department and the rule of law is being politicized? And he said, in part, I've never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do relative to bringing a charge or not bringing a charge. I'm honest. In other words, saying, unlike former President Trump, who did meddle in Justice Department affairs, this White House does not do so. And they've taken great lengths to keep the president away from the Attorney General, other senior Justice Department officials. Repeatedly over the course of Trump's legal issues, the White House has said it was not informed in advance, doesn't get a heads up, learns about it in the press the way most Americans do. We've asked tonight how the president was informed. They have not told us that. They have no comment. They've referred us to the Justice Department. The president will be on the road tomorrow in North Carolina, a state he'd like to win in 2024. Democrats believe they can, in part because if former President Trump emerges as the nominee, Republicans would face real baggage.
Robert?
Let me just take you inside the Trump inner circle tonight. They are shocked. One source close to Trump tells us just minutes ago that there's been way too much happy talk about a possible indictment. Trump wasn't expecting this. He didn't think it would come this week. He knew his lawyers met Monday with the DOJ. But based on our reporting, when Trump's legal team went into that meeting at the Justice Department on Monday, the special counsel showed up himself, Jack Smith, and he was stone-faced. He heard out the Trump team's legal complaints about how this has all been done, how witnesses have been questioned. And this is an unusual case. It deals with attorney-client privilege. In short, Trump's lawyer, Evan Corcoran, turned over his own voice memos about his private conversations with Trump, and those voice notes, those notes he has in a notebook, now in the hands of prosecutors. So they're on edge. Everything that's happened behind the scenes is now on the table.
Because so many members of the inner circle, Trump's inner circle, have not only testified and been interviewed, but their concern provided crucial evidence and information.
This fishing net by Jack Smith is so large and sweeping. It's not just the inner circle. It's the outer circle, the janitors at Mar-a-Lago, the low-level press staff, the Secret Service agents. They've all been called in one by one in a silent process by this special counsel to say, did Trump tell you to move documents from the basement to his office? How did he handle it when the subpoena came in? Was he exploring different legal options? Did he want to follow the rule of law? It's a huge orbit of people around Trump.
And what about Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows?
If there's anybody they're alarmed about right now in Florida, in Bedminster, New Jersey, it's Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff. Because to understand this case, you have to understand that Mark Meadows and Donald Trump in January of 2021 were furious with the Department of Justice and the national security establishment and decided that Trump should take some documents home without going through the proper approval process for classified materials. Because of that alleged decision, behind the scenes in the final days after an attack on the Capitol, now he's facing something historic, a federal indictment for obstructing an investigation, retaining classified materials, all because Trump believed he had executive privilege to have these documents. This case, the Trump team believes, could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Robert Costa, Ed O'Keefe, great to have you on this breaking news. Want to bring in now Scott Frederickson, a former prosecutor who joins us now from Virginia. Scott, we are hearing that this is a 7-count indictment. How significant is that?
Well, in addition to being historical, obviously, what we need to see is what are in the counts. And I suspect one of the most important counts is going to be not just the retention of the classified documents, but the obstruction of justice count. By all reports, there seems to be significant evidence the prosecutor has amassed about potential obstruction of the investigation. That kind of evidence is always overwhelming for a jury and for a judge. So we'll be looking at that. We're going to be looking at what does the indictment tell us? Is it what we call a speaking indictment? Does it tell us about the evidence the prosecutor has? Will the charges tell us about just how serious classified documents are involved here? Are these documents that go right to the heart of our national defense? If so, go ahead.
We have some clues because when prosecutors asked for that search warrant into Mar-a-Lago, they mentioned the Espionage Act, they mentioned destruction of documents, they mentioned obstruction. What does that tell us about how serious these 7 counts are against the former president?
I know. I suspect these counts are of the gravest weight against the president. The special counsel, who has moved at an incredible breakneck speed since he was appointed and seemingly has been incredibly thorough. As Bob said, every aide has been in the grand jury. His own lawyer's been in the grand jury. We have, apparently the special counsel has President Trump on tape himself talking about a very serious classified document involving war plans for Iran. So, you know, that's of the utmost seriousness. And if you put obstruction of justice on top of that, then that's a very strong case. Keep in mind, no prosecutor would ever think of indicting a former president unless they had an overwhelmingly strong case.
That's an excellent point. Scott Frederickson, thank you for your legal expertise tonight.